Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to PPS Theory Sessions, Programming for Problem Solving. We have started our second unit, and in that we have gone for multiple points, like basic structure of C program, where we have number of sections, documentation section, linker section, then definition section, global declaration section, main section, subroutine section. Even in main section, inside main section, we have two parts, declaration part and executable part. And with the example of a very basic C program, we've understood all those sections, what we can write there. Fine. And we've also explored what is a hash include and hash define preprocessor directives, right? And just in a previous session, we were discussing about C token. Now, what is token? Token is a very smallest individual unit which cannot be further divided. So everything, every word or something that cannot be further divided, if you divide it, its meaning will be different. It cannot be used or something, right? So something which cannot be divided further, then we can refer it as a token, C language token. And inside a C language, we can have these different types of tokens like keywords. Those are predefined words in C language. Then identifiers. Identifiers is nothing but kind of a label we provide. So that label can be for variable, can be for function, can be a file name, anything. So that goes as an identifier. We can have constants, maybe string or character constant, or the numeric constant. We can have special symbols, and we're going to have number of operators like arithmetic operators, plus, minus, into, divide, logical operators like and, or, not, relational operators like less than, greater than, less than equals to, greater than equals to, double equals to, assignment operator, single equals to sign, and so on. So these are the tokens. Now let us go through these tokens one by one and have a look at what are the keywords. What we can say as an identifier, what are the rules of identifier, then we'll see some constants, special symbols, and then we'll go for operators and executable statements, expressions. So that will create your first C program where you can operate something and calculate a few answers, right? So let's have a look at keyword. What is keyword? It's a preferred word. It is predefined inside a C language, and we cannot change that word, or we cannot change the meaning of that word. Even meaning of that word is predefined, fixed. So when we say it's a predefined and its meaning is fixed, then definitely use of that keyword will be at a specific place. Whenever we want to use it, we can, but we can never use it anywhere else. Otherwise, operation or meaning will differ. In a C language, if you are using those keywords, it must be written in a lowercase. C is a case-sensitive language, so we need to go for lowercase. And there are 32 such keywords available in C. This is a list of all those keywords. Now, throughout this semester, we are going to use many of these keywords, and we'll start from this basic data types, like int is for integer, char is for character, then there is a long, short. Those are basic data types. We will see just in a bit. Then there are a few other keywords like if, else, break, go to, switch. These are conditional flow to define the flow of our execution. If, else, switch are conditional flow definer, whereas break and go to is unconditional jump. right? Then there is for, do, while. These are the keywords which we can use to have iterations, loop. So it's a loop structure. We want to repeat something, then we may use either for or do while or a while, right? Then there are a few other data types and constants or those structures like float, enum, auto, then this void, struct, union. These are kind of data types. And there are other means keywords like continue will also be used inside a loop. Case is used with switch. Double unsigned is a data type, right? Size of is again a keyword with which you can define a size of any variable. Return is a keyword to return from particular place, right? Type def is again a keyword to define user defined data type and so on. So there are a number of total 32 keywords, and almost all, many of these keywords you are going to use in this semester itself. Fine. So these are the keywords. All these words are predefined. So you cannot use these keywords anywhere. You need to use this keyword at a particular proper place. Well, so that's what the keyword is. Next, to look at the identifier, we first need to look at the data types, because these data types are actually keywords. And when we are going for variable declaration, we are going to use identifier, and before that identifier, we are going to use data type. So let's have a look at what are the data types supported by C language. So actually C language supports 3 different kinds of data types. Okay. One is the inbuilt data type, or fundamental data type, or basic data type, or primary data type. Even we can say it is a primitive data type. Primitive data type. So it's like integer, character, float, or void. Your integer number you can store in integer data type. Your characters you can store in a character data type. If you have a floating point value with decimal point and so, you may go for float data type. And if you explicitly wants to define nothing, then you can use void. So these are the basic or a primary data types we can use in C language. Now using this primary data types, we can have few other data types like derived data types, array and pointer. So these are derived using basic data types. And even we can combine multiple of basic data types and create our own data type, which is called user defined data type, like structure, union, enum, type def, and so on. Now, as long as these are going to use primary data type as a base, it is called non-primitive data type. Okay. So primitive and non-primitive data types, or primary data type, derived data type, and user-defined data type. You may be asked, what is a data type? Or write a short note on data type, right? So this is what the primary data types we have, right? Now let us see in detail, and let us see what these data type means and what kind of values these data types can have. Fine. So if we focus on all those data types, then let us have a look at the primary data type first. You can divide your primary data type in 3 different sections. Integral type, where it is just going to be integer values, or maybe floating point type, where you are going to have floating point values. And if you want to say that nothing is there, you can say void. Okay. So let's focus on integral types first. Now, integral type means it is going to have integer value, some value. Now, in that case, you can have a direct integer value, or even you can have a character. Look, character is actually the integral type, because when we store a character, C language internally is going to consider its ASCII value. Okay, ASCII value, and ASCII value is always going to be integer value. So like A is having ASCII value 97. So when we store A, internally C language is going to consider it as a 97. And 97 is an integral value, integral type, right? So that's why we can say character is actually a part of integral data type, because all the characters are going to be stored inside a memory using their ASCII value, and ASCII value is always integer value. Well, now if we talk about integer, then we can have a simple integer, or we can have short integer, or we can have long integer. Now these differs based on the size they require, size of a memory they require. And when we differ a size, we also have different range to store, range of a value. Okay, integer and long integer will have a different range of values. And all these int, short int, and long int, these are signed values, positive and negative. Now, if you just want to have positive values, then explicitly you can say unsigned integer. So it is always going to be positive, 0 and forward direction. So unsigned integer, unsigned short integer, unsigned long integer, and so on. Right? So these are the integer data types. Then if we look at character, we can say char, C-H-A-R. It defines a character. Okay, and character is going to be accessed with its ASCII value. We can have signed character or unsigned character also, different ASCII values and possible ranges. Now we'll see what is the size of these data types. So what amount of memory it will require. If I say I want to store integer value, then it requires 2 bytes of our memory. We'll see just in the next slide. But all these are integer values or integral types. Now, if you look at the floating point data types, which requires decimal point, and we have fraction part also, then we may have float or double or long double data type. Now, again, these three differs by the size that they require, or the range of the value they are going to accumulate. So float is having a smaller range, double is having a larger range, long double will have even larger range of values. Right? So these are the primary or primitive data types, and all these are actually keywords. Int, short, unsigned, signed, char, float, double, long, void, all these are keywords, and those are fixed. We cannot change it. And we use those keywords in the variable declaration, because when we want to store a value, we need to have a variable. And if we declare a variable, we also need to declare its data type. भाई मैं इस वेरिएबल के अंदर कौन से टाइप की वैल्यू स्टोर करूंगा वो मुझे पहले से बोलना होगा. Okay, so to define that, we have a data types. Now let's have a look at different sizes and ranges of these data types. So as you can see, int data type requires 2 bytes in your memory, and 2 bytes, which means it is gonna have, look, 8-bit is 1 byte. So it is gonna have total 16 bits here, right? Now, how do you define a range? So a binary number, if we are saying, then it is equivalent to 2 raised to 16, right? Something like that. But this is a signed integer. We haven't told explicitly that it is unsigned. Now, if it is signed, then total these numbers are divided from or are having a range from negative to positive evenly. And that's why it is having a range from negative 32768 to positive 32767. That's the number, okay? Negative 32,768 value. Starting from that, it goes up to positive 32,767. Now, if you want to understand this, then start understanding this with a character. The character requires 1 byte, okay? It requires 1 byte to be stored. Now, if I say 1 byte, now to understand that thing, let's say 1 byte will have actually 8 bits. So if I go for 2 raised to 8, then tell me what will be the value? Quickly tell me what will be the value of 2 raised to 8? 2 power 8. Yeah, that's correct, Nikunj. 256. So total 256 numbers you can store inside this amount of memory. Look, total 256 numbers you can store. But when I say this is a signed value, then from this 8 bits, I'm going to reserve 1 bit for sign, whether it is positive or negative. Okay, so that leftmost bit from 8 bits is going to be reserved to define whether it is a positive value or a negative value. Well, if we reserve that 1 bit, then we do have 7 bits remaining, 2 raised to 7. Well, if I do have 2 raised to 7 bits, then tell me what will be the maximum values I can store. What is 2 raised to 7? Yeah, correct, Vyom. That's 128. Okay, that's total 128. Now, if I say that I have 128 numbers total, it goes from negative to positive range. So negative 128 to positive 128, I can define my range. But in between, we have 0 also, and that is to be considered as a positive number. Then instead of 128, we can go up to 127. That gives you total 256 numbers. Okay, and that is what the range of character we have, negative 128 to positive 127. Look, Yusuf is asking, why are we going for 2 to the power? Look, we are talking about memory. So it is there inside your system. Your system can understand binary data, binary values. It is going to store your data in a binary format. So base is 2, and then all those bits are going to have base 2 numbers, binary numbers. So that's how we can define the range of binary numbers. Equivalent decimal range we can define like this way. Okay. So that's why we have character from negative 128 to positive 127. Explicitly you say signed, then it is equal. But if you say unsigned, then we are not going for negative side. We only go for positive side, and that gives you 0 to 255, total 256 numbers, right? So we are not focusing on plus or minus. Now, if you are not focusing on plus or minus, then the leftmost bit we need not to reserve. And if we do not reserve it, we can go up to 256 numbers. That is from 0 to 255. So that's the range of characters. And it requires a single byte, 1 byte. Now, when you go for integer and short integer will require 2 bytes, same range. But long integer will require 4 bytes. Okay, so we are explicitly saying I am having a long integer number. Then I need more memory, and that's why we say it's a long integer, double the size of your simple integer value. All the unsigned integers will have same size, but the range will be different. It will not going to cover negative range. It is only going to cover positive range. 0 to, right? 0 to 65535 and so on. Look, what you need to remember here is you need to remember basic ranges. You should remember range of character. You should remember range of integer at least, and unsigned integer also, which will be the double of this thing. That is what you should remember. If you don't remember the larger ranges of float, double, long double, it's okay, right? But you have to remember the size of each and every data type. 2 byte, 4 byte, 8 bytes, 10 bytes, what? You should remember size in terms of bytes always. So character 1 byte, integer 2 byte, long integer 4 byte. Float is equivalent to long integer, but the difference is long integer is always going to have integer number, no floating point. But float with the same size 4 byte will give you the floating point number. Now, if you even want to go for a larger number, then you may go for double, 8 bytes. And more than that, you can have a long double, 10 bytes. 10 bytes to store a single number. And what that number can be, well, that number can be in between this range. Okay. So these are the different size of data types and the ranges. When I say void, explicitly we are saying nothing. So it does not require any memory. And that's why there is no size, there is no range. Okay. So, well, earlier someone has asked, double is there. Yes, double is also a data type. Now you can see that thing. Someone has asked to whether we need to remember all the ranges. No, you should remember basic range, character, integer, unsigned integer. That you should remember. But you must remember the size in terms of bytes of every data type. Look, a number with E, Vyom, it's a base E notation, right? That comes in mathematics. I believe you have gone through this one in your schooling part. Okay. Well, so that's the size. Now remember, all these size are based on 32-bit operating system, because Turbo C by default supports 32-bit operating system, C language. But if you go for 64-bit operating system, then all these sizes will be double compared to this. So in your 64-bit operating system, integer is going to have 4 bytes. Character is going to require 2 bytes. Float is going to have 8 bytes, and so on. Remember. Okay. So these sizes are with reference to 32-bit operating system. If you are going to store integer value in 64-bit operating system, it will occupy 4 bytes, and so on. Okay, so these are the different primary data types, its sizes and range. So now you can say, okay, if you do have negative 30,000 value and you want to store it, you can go for integer data type. But if you say that I have to store 95.4 value, then 95.4 decimal point is there, we need to go for float. Okay. Now, if you say that I always deal with positive numbers and I want to store 10,000, then we may go for unsigned integer, because that lies in between this range. If you say that I want to store some character, then we need to have character or signed character or unsigned characters, depending on what character we want to store, and so on. So that's why, look, if you want to store value 10, which we can store using 2 bytes only, but if you use float data type for that, then actually you are wasting your 2 more bytes here, right? फिर से समझाता हूँ. मान लो कि आपको वैल्यू 10 स्टोर करनी है, 10 स्टोर करना है तो वो इंटीजर वैल्यू है, और अगर इंटीजर में 2 बाइट में सेव कर सकता हूँ, देन इट इज बेटर टू हैव इट. अगर मैंने उसको फ्लोट बोल दिया तो उसको 4 बाइट चाहिए होंगे. जो 2 बाइट से कर सकता हूँ उसके लिए मैंने 4 बाइट ऑक्यूपाई कर लिए. उसका मतलब ये है कि मैंने 2 बाइट एक्स्ट्रा यूज किए, वेस्टेज ऑफ मेमोरी, एंड दैट शुड नॉट हैपन. क्योंकि जब हम सॉफ्टवेयर बनाएंगे तो हमें मेमोरी का ख्याल रखना होगा. कोई ऐसा सॉफ्टवेयर जो आपकी सारी मेमोरी यूज कर ले, आप वो प्रेफर नहीं करोगे, राइट? लेकिन कोई ऐसा सॉफ्टवेयर जो कम से कम मेमोरी में भी काम कर पाए, तो हम उसे प्रेफर करते हैं. And that's where these data types comes to the picture. So when we are going to write our program, हमें कुछ values store करनी है, तो हर एक value के लिए हम उसका data type पहले सोचेंगे, then we will declare a variable. Okay. Well, so these are the data types. And those are the basic data types, right? Primary data types. Now then there are derived data types like arrays and pointers. Now we do have a separate chapter on arrays and pointers. Chapter number 4 is based on array, and chapter number, I believe, 7 is on pointers. So in that chapter, we are going to learn arrays and pointers in detail, right? So later chapters will explain these two things. Let us jump to the user-defined data types, where we have typedef, enum, struct, and union. Okay. Well, from these two, even structure and union, we have a separate chapter, I believe chapter number 8, structures. So at that time, we are going to have a look at struct and union data type in detail. Let's focus on typedef and enum right now. So what is typedef and what is enum? So using typedef, look, typedef is a keyword, but its meaning is you can define your data type. Type def, you want to define your type. So you can have a type definition, a user defined data type at this place. How? So we are going to use typedef as a keyword. Then जो कोई भी existing type है जिसको आप नया नाम देना चाहते हो वो type, and then after आप अपना खुद का नया नाम उसको दे दो. Let's say an example, let's say I integer को मैं नया नाम देना चाहता हूँ unit. So I can write typedef space int space unit. अब ये unit जो है वो नया नाम दे दिया मैंने, but actually वो integer ही है, nothing else. But using this unit मैं अपने variables declare कर पाऊंगा, like unit, then variable 1, variable 2 and so on. जितने भी variables मुझे चाहिए, I can declare those variables. Now these variables are nothing but identifiers, and unit is a data type. So batch 1, batch 2 is a variable. It is actually the identifier, and unit is a data type. So user can define his own data type. Now this is a very basic example जहाँ पे हमने integer को नया नाम दिया, लेकिन आप complex data type बना के उसको नया नाम दे सकते हो. We will see that in structure. Okay. So using typedef, we can define our own data type. And the next one is enum. Enum means enumeration. We want to have a set of options, constant values. Then we can use enum. So if we want to have a set of constants and we want to refer those constants using single name, then we may go for enumeration. The syntax is enum, then your identifier, आप जो कोई भी नाम देना चाहते हो, and then after, in a curly bracket, you define all your options using comma separator. Value 1, comma value 2, comma value 3, comma value 4, and so on. So for example, if I want to define days of a week, then I can have enum, day, and then within a curly bracket, I can define all my days of a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so on, whatever. Now, look, this ... I have written here just to indicate the range from Monday to Sunday. In a program, you cannot have this ... You have to write all the days. But look, when you define this as a user-defined data type, enumerator on a day, then you can declare a variable using enum day and then the variable name, week start and week end, whatever variable you want to have. And then you can assign some values in those variables. So week start is a variable, and I want to assign Monday to that variable. Week end is a variable, and I want to assign a Friday, value Friday, to that variable. Now, when you are assigning some values, those values must be from this range that you have already defined in enumeration. अगर वो वैल्यू इस ऑप्शन सेट में नहीं है तो एरर मिलेगी, right? Now when I say I have a set of options, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on, internally it is actually going to refer as a constant, assign some integer value. By default, it is always going to assign the values, numbers, starting from 0. So Monday will have 0, equivalent value 0. Tuesday will have 1, Wednesday will have 2, and so on. if you want to change these numbers, if you don't want to have it 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, then you can explicitly give those numbers when you declare your enumeration data type. So when you define a constant, you also give it a value. Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, and so on. So you can change those constant values if you want. अगर नहीं, ठीक है, by default 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 assign हो जाएगा, चलेगा. Right? Remember, it is going to be constant. You cannot change that thing. Enumerators can only be on a constant set of values. Well, there is no limit in enum range. In curly bracket, you can have any number of options defined. Okay. So that's what the enum is. Now let's talk about identifier. Because in all these examples, I was talking about identifier, variable, and identifier. So what is it? Identifier is nothing but a label, a kind of a label. And that label can be of a variable, can be of a function or array or your files, anything. So with the help of identifier, with the help of that label, you can actually refer that value. अगर वो सिंपल वैल्यू है, आप कहीं स्टोर करना चाहते हो, तो आपको वेरिएबल चाहिए होगा. अगर वो सेट ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस हैं, स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्रोसेस, तो आप उसको फंक्शन बोलोगे. अगर वो सेट ऑफ वैल्यूज हैं, एक से ज्यादा वैल्यू है, तो आप उसको एरे बोलोगे. राइट? So that is nothing but a label, just like your name. You have a physical body, but to refer that physical body, you have a name. So just like that way, we have some numbers, but to refer those numbers, we need to have a name. We need to have a label. And that label is nothing but the identifier. So identifier consists of letters, digits, and underscore. Look, when you write any identifier, you can use either letters or digits 0 to 9 or underscore only. No other special character is allowed. ठीक है? जैसे कि आपके नाम में कोई नंबर नहीं चलता, कोई स्पेशल कैरेक्टर नहीं चलता, आपका नाम अल्फाबेटिक ही होना चाहिए, A to Z. Same way, in programming languages, we can label our thing using letters, digits, and underscore. ठीक है? Both uppercase and lowercase letters we can use, but remember C is a case sensitive language, so capital X and small x both are different. Now there are a few more constraints on identifiers. The first character must be alphabet, or in some cases we can have underscore, but your identifier cannot start with digit. That you should remember. आप अपने वेरिएबल का नाम जब भी लिखते हो, लेटर से स्टार्ट हो सकता है, अंडरस्कोर से भी हो सकता है, लेकिन नंबर से वो स्टार्ट नहीं हो पाएगा. Now any identifier must contain only letter, digit or underscore. No special character is allowed. No space in between, remember. Now C language does have a support of maximum length of identifier is to be 31 characters. इससे ज़्यादा लंबा नाम अगर आप रखते हो, तो C उसको आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाएगा. Another one, we cannot use keyword as an identifier because they have their own predefined meaning. int का स्पेशल मीनिंग है, तो int को मैं अपने आइडेंटिफायर के नाम से नहीं रख पाऊंगा. And no white space is allowed in between. Right? So if you want to declare some variable, you can declare it like int a. Okay. and semicolon, because in your C program, we always end our statement using semicolon. So this is valid. I can also have int sum. This is also valid. I can have int team 45. Now this is also valid. But I cannot have int to team. Well, this is not valid because I cannot start identifier a label with number. I cannot start it with digit. Well, I can start my identifier using underscore. So int underscore total. Now, this is valid. Okay. So all these are some kind of variables having data type integer and the identifier we have defined here. So this one is a data type and this one is identifier. Okay. And that creates your one statement where you are actually declaring a variable. You can also have something like float, percentage. Right? Because percentage is always going to be floating point number. So when you declare a variable to store some kind of a value, percentage value, you should have data type float. Okay. So these are the identifiers. Identifier is nothing but just a label. Label for variable, label for function, label for arrays, label for any data type that you declare, anything. So what are the variables then? Variables are nothing but the data name. It is actually the identifier which can store some value inside it. And we can change those values. That's why it is called variable. We can change data inside it. That's why it is a variable. It can vary. It is used to store some data value. And when we declare a variable, we also define its data type. So that variable is going to have either integer value or character value or floating value or something else and so on. Value of variable may change during the execution. That's why it is a variable. And when we declare a variable, we should follow all the rules of identifiers. So variable name may consist of letters, digits, and underscore. It cannot start with digit. Keywords are not allowed. White space is also not allowed in between. Uppercase and lowercase letters are different. So small max and capital max, these two are separate variables. And maximum length of your variable name can be 31 characters. Right? So these are some rules and regulations we need to follow when we are declaring a variable. Inside that variable, we can store whatever value we want. And using this variable name, we can refer those values. So it is something like, if I want to store value 5 in variable A and let's say value 3 in variable B, then I can write it using int A equals to 5, comma, B equals to 3, and I'm done with my statement, so semicolon. Okay, so what this indicates, I actually store value 5 inside variable A. A is an identifier, int is a data type. Similarly, I store value 3 inside variable B. So somewhere in your memory, okay, your computer is going to store that data 5. And that memory location you can refer using this label A. That location, let's say it's something like 1000 location. It's the address. Actually 1000 address nahi hota, remember, it is just to understand. So inside our memory, let's say at location 1000, I have that value. तो हर बार तो मैं ये लोकेशन रेफर नहीं कर पाऊंगा, इवन मुझे ये पता भी नहीं होगा कि मेरी वैल्यू कौन से लोकेशन पे है. So to easily access it, we can always define labels, identifiers. So similarly, somewhere in your memory, it will again have value 3 with label B. And that memory location will be of 2 bytes because integer requires 2 bytes. Right? Well, so that's what the variable is. We can have local variables and we can have global variables because we have seen two sections, global declaration section and local declaration section. अगर मेन के अंदर आप कोई वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर करते हो तो वो लोकल हो जाएगा, वो मेन के अंदर ही यूज कर पाओगे और कहीं पे नहीं. So a variable which is declared inside the function is known as a local variable, and it can only be used inside a function, not out of that function. Whereas अगर आप कोई वेरिएबल ग्लोबल डिक्लेरेशन सेक्शन में लिखते हो, so variable which has been declared outside of all the functions, तो उसे हम ग्लोबल बोलेंगे because we can access that variable from anywhere inside our entire program. Fine. So that's what the variable is. Next is some constants. So we have seen C token identifier, we have seen C token keywords, and this is the third C token, constants. Now when we talk about constants, we can have different types of constants, numeric constants and character constants. So string and a single character will be under character constants, and some integer or real numbers will be the numeric constants. So C has a support of these kind of constants, and if you want to define these constants, you can always use hash define and something. So your integer numbers can be something like integer or float numbers like hash define, let's say space, then max. Generally we define constants using capital letters, so max and 5, or something like hash define pi 3.14 and so on. We will also see string and constant characters later, hash define name and then double quote your entire name and so on. So we will see those constants later, but these are the numeric and character constants we have. If it is integer constant, you all know that some positive, negative, any number. It can also be hexadecimal or octal number. When we talk about numbers, it can be decimal number, octal number, hexadecimal number. Octal number will have digits from 0 to 7, and it will always be prefixed with 0, O. And the hexadecimal numbers will have digits from 0 to 9 and A to F, and it always have format something like 0, X, and then some numbers. Now this defines it is a hexadecimal number. But any type of decimal, octal, or hexadecimal number you can use in a constant. So that's integral constant. Real numbers can be floating point numbers, right? So any digits we can have to define some weight, height, distance, percentage, interest rate, whatever you want. Then a single character, maybe single X or a 5, value 5 as a character, not a number. String constant can be defined in a double quote. Your name may be there. So these are the types of constants. Okay. So we have seen integer constant, real constant, single character constant, and a string constant. If we want to define these constants, we can define it using hash define. अगर आपको कांस्टेंट नहीं लेकिन ये वैल्यू एज अ वेरिएबल चाहिए तो वेरिएबल में असाइन कर दो, चलेगा. Just like int num equals to 5, it will work. But you can never have string as a data type. अगर string आप कोई वेरिएबल में स्टोर करते हो तो वो वेरिएबल एक्चुअली कैरेक्टर एरे होना चाहिए. We'll see that in the 7th chapter, arrays and strings. So we have seen constants also. There are few character constants in C because these are actually backslash characters or character sequences which refer to a particular behavior. /n शायद आपको पता हो, न्यू लाइन के लिए यूज किया जाता है. /r refers to carriage return, enter. Same way /t एक टैब, हॉरिजॉन्टल टैब डिफाइन करने के लिए आप यूज कर सकते हो. /f फॉर्म फीड, d बैकस्पेस, a to alert, physically alert bell आप दे सकते हो if your system supports. ज़्यादातर systems में मदरबोर्ड में भी एक स्पीकर, छोटा सा एक स्पीकर रहता है, right? When you start or if there is any fatal error, you will have beep sound. So if you want to generate that kind of sound, you can use /a. /t is a horizontal tab, v is a vertical tab, then a single quote and a double quote. Look, all these characters are used in a different way. Single quote एक character को define करने के लिए use करते हैं. Double quote string को define करने के लिए use करते हैं. लेकिन अगर मुझे double quote itself वही चाहिए तो मुझे slash करके single quote या double quote करना होगा. Similarly, question mark /0. Now /0 defines null value. Okay. So these are the constants. Backslash characters or some constants. Now some of these constants we are going to use. We will use /n. We have already used in some programs to create a new line. /t we will use single quote, double quote, and so on. /0 we will use when we work with strings. Fine. So these are the character constants. Then there are symbolic constants. We have already seen. Hash define करके जो भी लिखते हो वो सब symbolic constants हैं because हम वहाँ पे एक symbol define करते हैं. Pi एक symbol है. So अगर आपको symbolic constant चाहिए तो आप hash define use करो. Then अपना symbol लिखो और उसको जो भी value देनी है वो लिखो. Hash define is a preprocessor directive. उसके बाद एक identifier आ जाएगा, symbol, and then the actual value. So those are symbolic constants. We have seen number of constants, and this is what we have gone through till now. We have started our unit with basic features of C language. Then we have seen structure of a C program, and we discussed about header, all the sections in C program. We have also seen header files. We have seen hash define, hash include directives. We have seen comments. We have seen C tokens, and inside those tokens we have seen keywords. Then we have seen data types, we have seen variables, and we have just discussed constants. This is what we have seen till now. It's time we need to conclude this session, and in the next session we are going to cover operators, expressions, how we can have mathematical expression and how we can evaluate those expressions, and then we'll continue with the next topic. Okay, so that's what we are going to cover next, so that you will be able to write your one program which will have some mathematical operations inside it. Well, so that's it for today. Thank you for being part of this session here, and see you in the next one where we are going to see operators and expressions. Thank you, everyone.